The massive Confederation ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It was 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel ever built. Its smooth, silver hull reflected the sunlight as it hovered silently above the blue planet. World leaders gathered quickly in the United Nations Emergency Chamber. Screens showed the alien ship from various angles as military advisors spoke in hushed, worried tones. "We're receiving a transmission," announced the communications officer. "They want to talk." John Carter watched the scene unfold from his small apartment in Florida. The retired Navy captain had been enjoying his morning coffee when every screen in the world began broadcasting the same message. "We are not alone." His phone rang. It was a government number. "Captain Carter," said a voice he recognized as belonging to the president. "Your country needs you one more time." 6 hours later, John stood in a heavily guarded conference room at the United Nations. His blue uniform felt tight after years of retirement. Gray hair neatly trimmed, he waited as officials briefed him on his unexpected new role. "You're our best option, Captain," explained the Secretary General. "Your combat experience combined with your diplomatic work makes you uniquely qualified to meet these visitors." John nodded. "What do we know about them?" "Very little. They call themselves the Galactic Confederation, claim to represent thousands of species across hundreds of star systems. They've been watching us for decades." The meeting with Ambassador Zorlak took place on neutral ground, an orbital platform hastily prepared for this historic encounter. John felt his heart pounding as the airlock opened, revealing the alien diplomat. Zorlak stood nearly 7 feet tall. His skin was pale blue, with 4 arms and large, silver eyes that seemed to look through John rather than at him. 2 translator devices floated between them. "Captain John Carter," the alien's words came through clearly. "Representative of Earth, we welcome your species to the greater galactic community." The next 3 days were filled with intense discussions. John learned about the Confederation's history, their technologies, and their political structures. He shared information about Earth's nations, cultures, and scientific achievements. Zorlak seemed impressed by human progress, but became noticeably less interested when discussing military matters. "You have only 12 vessels capable of interstellar travel?" the alien asked, his silver eyes blinking rapidly. "That's correct," John replied. "Our space exploration has focused primarily on our own solar system." The alien made a sound that the translator didn't catch, but John recognized it anyway. It was dismissal. "Most young species require several centuries to develop proper defense capabilities," Zorlak said. "The Confederation can offer protection until you reach adequate strength." John kept his expression neutral. "We appreciate the offer, Ambassador. Earth will consider it carefully." After the meeting, John reported back to the United Nations Council. "They see us as children," he explained, "advanced in some ways, but ultimately defenseless. They're offering protectorate status rather than full membership in their confederation." "Is that based on our technology level?" asked the Chinese representative. John shook his head. "No, it's based on our fleet size. They measure military power primarily by numbers. Our 12 ships seem laughable to them." The room fell silent as everyone considered this information. "What they don't understand," John continued, "is what those 12 ships can do, or the humans who crew them." 2 weeks later, Ambassador Zorlak presented his findings to the Confederation Council. The massive chamber held representatives from over 300 species, all curious about the newest discovered world. "The humans are a fascinating species," Zorlak told the assembled aliens. "Creative, adaptable, and remarkably advanced for their age. However, their military presence is insignificant. A quaint fleet of just 12 vessels, confined mostly to their home system." The Council voted unanimously to offer Earth protectorate status. None of them considered that the humans might have something to teach them about quality over quantity. None of them understood that humanity's small fleet was the product of bitter lessons learned throughout thousands of years of warfare. They would learn soon enough. 6 months passed since humanity's first contact with the Galactic Confederation. Earth had neither accepted nor rejected the offered protectorate status, instead requesting time to consider all implications. During this time, Earth's leaders worked tirelessly to understand their new place in the universe. Admiral Susan Miller stood at the window of her office in the Space Force Command Center, looking at the stars above. At 52, she had spent her entire adult life preparing Earth's defenses. Now those defenses seemed laughably small compared to what existed beyond their solar system. Her assistant knocked on the door. "Admiral, the message from the Confederation has been decoded." Susan took the tablet and read quickly. Her eyebrows rose as she reached the end. "Get me the United Earth Council. Immediately." 2 hours later, Susan faced the 12 men and women who governed Earth's unified space interests. She placed the tablet on the table. "The Confederation has invited us to their Centennial Games," she announced. "It's a diplomatic event held every 100 years, where member species showcase their achievements and abilities. A chance to prove ourselves worthy of full membership," asked Counselor Rivera. "Perhaps," Susan replied. "But there's more. The games include military exercises, demonstrations of each species' defensive capabilities." The council chamber grew quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. "They want to see our tiny fleet in action," Counselor Lee said finally, "so they can confirm how weak we are." Susan nodded. "That's likely their intention." "Then we should decline," another counselor suggested. "Why expose our limitations?" Susan's lips curved into a small smile. "Or we could accept. Let them underestimate us. It's an advantage we've rarely had in our own conflicts." Debate erupted around the table. Some counselors worried about embarrassment on a galactic stage. Others feared revealing any military capabilities at all. But Susan remained calm, waiting until they had exhausted their arguments. "Throughout human history," she said when silence finally fell, "we have often faced enemies with greater numbers. Yet we prevailed through innovation, adaptability, and sheer determination. Our ships may be few, but each represents the pinnacle of human ingenuity." She tapped the screen on the wall, showing images of Earth's 3 newest vessels, sleek, dark ships with lines that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The UES Defiant, Intrepid, and Relentless, each commanded by our finest captains, each containing technologies the Confederation has not yet seen. Counselor Rivera leaned forward. "You believe these 3 ships can make a difference against fleets of hundreds?" "I do," Susan answered without hesitation. "But we'll need the right diplomatic team as well. Someone who appears harmless, but thinks 3 steps ahead of everyone else." "Eric Grant," suggested Counselor Lee immediately. Susan nodded in agreement. Eric Grant was perfect, a 38-year-old diplomat known for his unassuming demeanor that masked a brilliant strategic mind. His ordinary appearance and soft-spoken nature had led many human opponents to underestimate him in past negotiations, always to their regret. The vote was not unanimous, but the decision was made. Earth would attend the Centennial Confederation Games. They would send their 3 newest ships and a diplomatic team led by Eric Grant. 2 weeks later, Eric stood before the captains of the 3 vessels in a secure briefing room. Captain Lisa Daniels of the Defiant, Captain Paul Winters of the Intrepid, and Captain Maria Rodriguez of the Relentless, all watching him with intense focus. "They expect us to be weak," Eric told them. "They expect us to be impressed by their numbers, intimidated by their technology. They expect us to know our place." He smiled, an expression that never reached his eyes. "Let's play along. For now." The 3 captains exchanged glances, understanding exactly what he meant. As Earth's tiny fleet prepared for departure, Admiral Miller sent one final message to each ship. "Remember the history you carry with you. Remember what humanity has always done when backed into a corner. Make us proud." The journey to the games would take 3 weeks at maximum speed. 3 weeks for Earth's representatives to prepare for their entrance onto the galactic stage. The space station Harmonious Unity was the largest structure humans had ever seen. It hung in space like a metal flower, its 5 massive petal-shaped sections extending from a central hub. Each petal housed representatives from different regions of the Confederation. Thousands of ships surrounded the station, their varied shapes and sizes creating a metal forest against the blackness of space. Captain Lisa Daniels stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant as they approached. The ship's sensors showed at least 600 military vessels in the area. "Quite a welcome party," she said quietly. Her second-in-command, Alan Becker, looked nervous. "I count 200 Draconian ships alone. The Arcturians have brought 150. Even the peaceful Centauri have 40. Lisa nodded. "And we have 3. The communication system beeped. On screen appeared a green-skinned alien with multiple eyes arranged in a circle around its head. "Earth vessels, this is Harmonious Unity Control. You are cleared for approach to Docking Bay 73. Please follow the guide lights." "Thank you, Control." UES Defiant confirms, Lisa replied calmly. As the 3 human ships made their way toward the station, Lisa noticed they were being watched. Alien vessels adjusted their positions to observe the human ships more closely. Some moved in uncomfortably close. "They're scanning us," Alan reported. "Multiple frequencies, attempting deep penetration scans." Lisa smiled slightly. "Let them try. Our hull shielding will give them just enough data to keep their assumptions intact." The welcoming ceremony was held in an enormous hall where representatives from over 50 species gathered. The human delegation, led by Eric Grant, entered to a mixture of curious stares and barely hidden smirks. A tall, mantis-like alien stepped forward to greet them. "Welcome, humans of Earth. I am Grand Marshal Kextal, overseer of the Centennial Games. We are honored by your participation." Eric bowed slightly. "The honor is ours, Grand Marshal. Earth is grateful for the opportunity to learn from the Confederation's many distinguished members." As they were guided to their assigned area, Lisa noticed the whispers and glances. A group of reptilian aliens openly laughed as they passed. "Only 3 ships," one said loudly enough to be heard. "My personal escort is larger." Lisa kept her face expressionless, but she caught Eric's eye. He gave her the slightest nod, a reminder of their strategy. "Let them underestimate us." The first day was filled with formal introductions and tours of the station. The humans were shown technology that seemed decades beyond Earth's capabilities, or so they allowed their hosts to believe. Lisa played her part perfectly, asking naive questions and expressing wonder at systems she recognized easily. That night, the Earth delegation gathered in their private quarters. The room had been swept for listening devices, and Kevin Wright, their communications specialist, had set up additional security measures. "They're not even trying to hide their opinion of us," Captain Paul Winters of the Intrepid said. One Arcturian admiral asked if our ships could even achieve proper FTL travel or if we had to put our people to sleep for long journeys. Captain Maria Rodriguez of the Relentless laughed. An engineer from the Draconian fleet offered to show me how real shield technology works. I thanked him for his generosity while looking suitably impressed. Eric nodded approvingly. "Good. Keep it up. The more they dismiss us, the better." Kevin Wright, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. "I intercepted something strange during the reception. Fragmented transmissions on an encrypted channel. Not standard Confederation protocol." He pulled up a display showing the partial message he captured. The others gathered around, their expressions growing serious. "That's a tactical communication," Lisa said. Kevin nodded, and it mentioned something called Void Reavers and a primary target. Eric frowned. "Could be nothing. But keep monitoring." "Should we alert the Confederation security?" Maria asked. Lisa shook her head. "With what evidence? And how would we explain how we intercepted an encrypted transmission their own security missed?" "No, we watch and wait." Eric agreed. Tomorrow is the cultural exhibition. All ships' captains will be invited to showcase their vessels. Be ready for more condescension, and keep your eyes open. None of them realized just how soon their tiny fleet would need to show its true capabilities. The cultural exhibition hall buzzed with activity. Each species displayed art, music, and technological achievements from their homeworlds. The human section, though smaller than most, attracted curious visitors. Earth's music seemed to particularly interest the aliens, many stopping to listen to classical pieces and modern compositions alike. Eric Grant moved smoothly between groups, engaging in diplomatic conversations while observing the security situation. He had positioned the three ship captains strategically throughout the hall. Kevin Wright's voice came through his small earpiece. "Sir, more encrypted transmissions detected. Same pattern as yesterday, but increasing in frequency." Eric kept his expression pleasant as he replied quietly. "Can you determine the source?" "Not precisely, but they're coming from inside the station." Eric frowned slightly. He excused himself from a conversation with a jellyfish-like diplomat and made his way to where Ambassador Zorlak stood with other high-ranking Confederation officials. "Ambassador, may I have a word?" Eric asked politely. Zorlak seemed surprised by the interruption, but stepped aside. "Yes, Human Grant. We've detected unusual communications that might indicate a security concern," Eric explained in a low voice. "Encrypted transmissions not following Confederation protocols." Zorlak's silver eyes blinked rapidly. "Our security is the finest in the galaxy. I'm sure what you detected was simply standard communications you're unfamiliar with. With respect, Ambassador, we." A loud alarm cut through the air, silencing all conversation. Red lights began flashing throughout the exhibition hall. "Attention all beings," announced a mechanical voice. "Security breach detected. Unknown vessels approaching." This is not a drill. The peaceful gathering instantly transformed into chaos. Aliens rushed in different directions, some calling for security, others seeking escape routes. Eric tapped his communication device. "All Earth personnel, report. Right here. Massive energy signatures approaching. At least 30 ships, heavily armed. Daniel's here. Station defenses are powering up. But something's wrong. They're not reaching full capacity." The main view screen in the exhibition hall flickered to life, showing a group of black, spike-covered ships approaching the station. Their design was unlike any Confederation vessel. A harsh voice boomed through the station's communication system. "Attention Confederation weaklings. We are the Void Reavers. Your pathetic gathering is now under our control. Your defensive systems have been compromised. Surrender your diplomats and treasures, or we will destroy you all." Panic spread through the hall. The Confederation security forces seemed paralyzed, their commanders shouting contradictory orders. Eric watched as Ambassador Zorlak hurried to join a group of high-ranking officials who were being escorted to a secure area. None of them seemed to have any plan beyond their own safety. "Captains, report to your vessels immediately," Eric ordered through his communicator. "Prepare for defensive action." Captain Lisa Daniels was already moving, her security team clearing a path through the panicked crowd. "What about the Confederation fleet? They outnumber the attackers 10-1. "Look at them," Eric replied, gesturing to the confused alien commanders arguing among themselves. "They have numbers but no coordination. Each species is waiting for someone else to take command." Outside, the attacking ships had begun firing on the station's outer docking rings where most diplomatic vessels were secured. Explosions flashed in the darkness of space. Lisa reached a transport pod that would take her to the Defiant. "Orders, sir." Eric's voice was calm but firm in her earpiece. "All Earth vessels, execute contingency Omega." Lisa's expression hardened. "Understood." Within minutes, the three human captains had reached their ships. As the Confederation forces continued their disorganized response, the tiny human fleet moved with shocking precision. The UES Defiant, intrepid and relentless, detached from their docking clamps and accelerated smoothly into formation. Their engines glowed blue against the blackness of space as they positioned themselves between the station's most vulnerable sections and the approaching Void Reavers. From the station's command center, where he had joined the Confederation leadership, Eric Grant watched as Earth's 3 ships moved as one perfect unit. The mocking had stopped. Now, the aliens would see what humanity's tiny fleet could really do. The Void Reaver ships closed in on the station, their weapons charging. The first volley of energy blasts struck the outer defensive shields, causing them to flicker dangerously. On the main view screen in the command center, the aliens watched as the 3 human vessels moved directly into the path of the attackers. "What are they doing?" asked a Draconian commander. "Those 3 tiny ships will be destroyed instantly." Ambassador Zorlak stared at the screen. "They're sacrificing themselves to buy us time." Eric Grant said nothing, his calm expression revealing none of his thoughts. In space, Captain Lisa Daniels sat in the command chair of the UES Defiant. Her crew worked with practiced efficiency around her. "All systems optimal," reported her weapons officer. "Combat protocols active." Lisa opened a channel to the other 2 ships. "Intrepid, take electronic warfare position. Relentless, prepare modular weapons. Defiant will lead the engagement." The 3 ships spread out in a triangle formation. The Void Reavers seemed to pause, perhaps surprised by the humans' direct approach. "They're scanning us," Alan Becker reported from his station. "Now they're adjusting course to target us specifically." Lisa smiled slightly. "Good. They took the bait." She tapped a control on her chair. "Disengage adaptive hull shielding. Show them what we really are." Across all 3 human ships, the seemingly ordinary hull plating shifted. What had appeared to be simple metal transformed, revealing complex technology that had been hidden from the Confederation's earlier scans. On the UES Intrepid, Captain Paul Winters activated his ship's special systems. Electronic warfare suite engaging now. Instantly, the Void Reavers' formations faltered. Their communications filled with static, and their targeting systems began showing multiple ghost images of the human vessels. "They can't tell which targets are real," Paul reported with satisfaction. On the UES Relentless, Captain Maria Rodriguez activated her ship's unique weapons. Modular weapon systems online, analyzing enemy shield frequencies. The weapons on her ship physically reconfigured, changing shape and energy signatures to match the vulnerabilities in the Void Reaver's defenses. Lisa nodded as she watched the coordinated attack unfold. Defiant, attack pattern Delta 7. Target their lead vessel. Her ship accelerated suddenly, moving with a speed and maneuverability that seemed impossible for its size. The Defiant spun and weaved through enemy fire, its advanced point defense systems neutralizing incoming attacks. In the station's command center, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence. "Impossible," whispered the Centauri admiral. "The acceleration alone should crush their bodies." "Inertial dampening technology," Eric explained casually. "Quite effective, wouldn't you agree?" The Confederation leaders could only stare as the UES Defiant reached the lead Void Reaver ship and released a precisely targeted energy beam that cut through its shields like they weren't even there. "Direct hit on their command center," came Lisa's report over the shared channel. "1 down." The Void Reavers, facing unexpected resistance, attempted to regroup. They focused their fire on the Intrepid, hitting it with multiple energy blasts. For a moment, the aliens in the command center held their breath, certain they were about to witness the destruction of one of Earth's vessels. Instead, the Intrepid's hull absorbed the energy attacks, its systems apparently undamaged. "Kinetic absorption technology," Eric noted to the astonished aliens around him, "converts enemy weapon energy to power our own systems. Quite efficient." Ambassador Zorlak turned to Eric, his silver eyes wide. "You deceived us about your capabilities." Eric smiled thinly. "We simply didn't volunteer information you didn't specifically request. A habit humanity learned through thousands of years of our own conflicts." On the main screen, the 3 human ships continued their coordinated attack. They moved not as individual vessels, but as parts of a single organism, communicating through encrypted channels and executing complex maneuvers that the larger alien fleets could not match. The Void Reavers, for the first time, seemed to hesitate. They had not expected this level of resistance from three small ships they had initially dismissed as insignificant. "The hunters have become the hunted," Eric said quietly, watching as humanity's tiny fleet continued to demonstrate combat capabilities that were leaving even veteran Confederation commanders in awe. As the human ships engaged the Void Reavers, something unexpected happened. The largest Confederation vessels finally began to move. A fleet of Draconian warships, followed by Arcturian cruisers, pushed forward to join the battle. However, their movements were uncoordinated, with ships sometimes getting in each other's way. "Look at them," Lisa said to her crew as the Defiant executed another precise maneuver. All that firepower, but no unified strategy. In the command center, Eric received an incoming transmission. Admiral Susan Miller's face appeared on his personal screen. "Status report," she demanded, her image occasionally flickering due to the distance of the quantum entanglement communication. "The Void Reavers launched a surprise attack during the cultural exhibition," Eric explained quickly. "Our ships have engaged and are performing admirably. The Confederation forces are attempting to join the fight, but lack coordination." Susan nodded. "Then it's time for Phase 2. Connect me to the Confederation Council." Eric glanced at the alien leaders who were still watching the battle with mixed expressions of shock and admiration. "Admiral Miller wishes to address the Council," he announced. The aliens turned to him in surprise, but no one objected. A large screen activated, showing Susan in her command center on Earth. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Confederation," Susan began formally. "I am Admiral Susan Miller of Earth's Space Force. What you are witnessing is not just the capability of our vessels, but the implementation of humanity's military doctrine." She stood straighter, her voice firm. "In our history, we've rarely had numerical superiority. We've learned to emphasize quality over quantity, versatility over specialization, and initiative over rigid protocols." The alien commanders listened with growing interest as Susan continued. "I propose a coordinated counterattack. Our 3 ships will serve as command nodes. We can translate between your various communication systems in real time and provide tactical guidance." There was hesitation among the alien leaders. "Why should we follow your direction?" asked a Draconian commander. "Your species is the newest and least experienced in space combat." "Because we're the only ones who are actually hitting the enemy," Eric replied simply, pointing to the screen where the human ships continued their successful assault, while most Confederation vessels remained in defensive positions. The Grand Marshal Kextall stepped forward. "I accept the human proposal. All Confederation vessels, coordinate with the Earth ships." Within minutes, the battle changed. Human tactical officers began transmitting instructions to the various alien fleets. The UES Defiant coordinated with the Draconian warships, the UES Intrepid with the Arcturians, and the UES Relentless with the Centauri. Under humanity's guidance, the diverse alien ships began working together effectively. The Draconians' powerful but slow weapons were timed to hit targets flushed out by the faster Arcturian vessels. The Centauri's defensive technologies complemented the more offensive capabilities of other species. The Void Reavers, who had initially seemed confused by the human ships, now found themselves facing a coordinated Confederation fleet. Their formation began to break as more of their vessels took damage. On the main screen, everyone watched as the remaining Reaver ships turned and fled toward the station's power core. "They're making a final desperate move," Lisa reported from the Defiant, "attempting to destroy the core and take the station with them." The Defiant, Intrepid, and Relentless pursued at maximum speed, followed by the fastest Confederation vessels. They cornered the Void Reavers near the massive energy core that powered the entire station. The lead Reaver ship, its hull damaged and systems failing, opened a communication channel. A harsh voice filled the command center. "We demand to negotiate. The Void Reaver captain growled. "We wish to speak with whoever commands those 3 deadly Earth ships." Ambassador Zorlak looked at Eric with new respect. "It seems they've learned what we failed to recognize," he said quietly. "Numbers aren't everything." Eric nodded, his expression serious. A lesson humanity learned through much suffering. "Now let's end this before more lives are lost." He opened a channel to Lisa. "Captain Daniels, you're authorized to respond to their request for negotiation. But be prepared for treachery." The battle had reached its critical point. Now, the galaxy would see how humanity handled victory. 3 days after the battle, the Confederation Council held an emergency session. The Grand Chamber was packed with representatives from every member species. At the center stood the human delegation, with Captain Lisa Daniels, Captain Paul Winters, and Captain Maria Rodriguez in their formal uniforms. The Supreme Counselor, a tall being with crystal-like skin, addressed the gathered aliens. "We have lived in peace for centuries, believing our combined fleets made us untouchable. The Void Reavers proved that numerical superiority means nothing without proper coordination and tactical flexibility." The chamber was silent as the counselor continued. "More importantly, we failed to recognize the unique strengths of our newest potential members." The crystal being turned toward the humans. "We mistook your limited numbers for limited capability. We failed to consider that a species evolved on a death world that spent most of its history fighting itself would develop combat efficiency beyond our understanding." Lisa stepped forward when invited to speak. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of aliens who had mocked her ship just days before. "The Void Reavers have been dealt with," she stated simply. "Their remaining ships have been captured, and their leaders will face justice according to Confederation law." She paused, then continued with quiet strength. "Earth's fleet is small because we prefer not to solve problems with overwhelming force. We've learned through bitter experience that victory often goes not to the largest army, but to the smartest, most adaptable one." Paul and Maria stood beside her as she spoke, the 3 captains presenting a united front. "Our ships sustained damage but achieved the highest combat effectiveness ratio of any participating species. More importantly, without coordination between all our forces, the casualty count would have been much higher." Ambassador Zorlak approached the central platform. "As the one who first encountered humanity and mistakenly classified them as militarily insignificant, I wish to make a formal proposal." The chamber grew even quieter. "I propose that Earth be granted full membership in the Confederation, with humanity taking leadership of a new rapid response defense force. Their proven ability to adapt and coordinate diverse combat units makes them uniquely qualified for this role." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some representatives looked uncomfortable. Others nodded in agreement. The Supreme Counselor called for a vote. One by one, the representatives indicated their positions. When the final count was made, the decision was clear. Earth would join the Confederation as a full member, despite its small fleet. Later, as the Earth ships prepared to return home with news of their new status, Eric Grant stood with the 3 captains in a viewing lounge overlooking the docking bay. "Not bad for a tiny fleet," Maria said with a smile. Paul nodded. "Did you see the Arcturian admiral's face when the Intrepid's electronic warfare systems confused their entire sensor network? He couldn't believe a ship our size could carry that much processing power." Lisa looked out at the stars. "What happens now? The Confederation will expect us to share our technology." Eric shook his head. "Not all of it. The treaty specifies that proprietary military systems remain under national control. We'll share enough to prove our value while maintaining our edge." "And the response force?" Lisa asked. "Admiral Miller is already planning its structure. You 3 will likely be offered command positions." As they spoke, a group of alien officers entered the lounge. They approached awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable. "Captain Daniels," said the lead officer, a draconian commander who had openly mocked the human ships during the welcome ceremony, "my fleet wishes to conduct joint training exercises with your vessels when possible." We have much to learn from your tactics. Lisa nodded graciously. We would be honored. And we also have much to learn from you. As word spread throughout the galaxy of the tiny human fleet that stood against the Void Reavers, the mocking stopped. It was replaced by a new sentiment, respect tinged with healthy caution. The next morning, as the Earth ships broke orbit to begin their journey home, they received honor escorts from every major Confederation species. No one would underestimate humanity again. Not bad for a tiny fleet.